Okay, so we're done with chapter 4, and now we're going to start in chapter 5. Now, chapter 5 kind of starts getting into kind of the the cool stuff of programming, where we can actually write methods, our own methods, and we can call those methods. So if we take a look at the very first example, which is called simple method, starts on page 277, let's talk about what's going on here. So here's my static void main, and basically it's going to print a line, hello from the main method, display message, left and right parenthesis. Now what is that about? Now whenever we see kind of this italicized, that's telling us that there's a method within this class. It's a method within this class that basically is being called. So if we scroll down a little bit, answer the phone. So here we have this public static void display message. So this is a method that we have written within this class, and it's going to basically say hello from the display message method. Now let's take a look at this right here. First of all, if it's public, that means anyone can call it within this project. Static says that it does not need to be instantiated. Okay, it can just be called and used as is. The void says nothing is being returned. We're not returning anything from this method. And then we actually have the method name, and then the left and right parentheses are empty, meaning we're not passing anything to it. So nothing's being passed to it and nothing's being passed back. We're just calling this method. It's going to execute something, and then when it gets done, it's going to come back to this calling line and automatically go to the next line, and then it basically says back in the main method. So hello from the main method, that's in this method main. Hello from the display message method, that's being called from here, and then basically it comes back and displays that message again. So if we were to run this, we can see hello from the main method, hello from the display method, and then back in the main method, just as we expected. Okay, so again, public means anybody within or anything within this project can call this. Static means it doesn't need to be instantiated, it can be used as is. Void means nothing's being returned, and the display message is the name, and then the empty parentheses means nothing's being passed in. Okay, so if we continue on, on page 275 talks about defining a void method. Basically what we're saying there is we're not passing anything back. Okay, we're just calling a method, doing whatever it needs to be done, and then basically going back to the calling one. So let's now look on page 278, the loop call. So here we're not importing anything. So here's our loop call, our class. Here's our first method. It's a main method, meaning this is executable. And now I've got a for statement. I'm going to basically a for loop. So I'm instantiating my I, and it's equal to 0. And then I'm saying while I is less than 5, we're going to do this loop. And then we're going to increase that numeric value I by 1 each time we go through this loop. So it says display message. So in this case, we're calling that the same. So this is identical to the previous, except now we're doing this display message inside of a loop. And then we say system out print line, it's back in the main method. Now this is kind of weird looking because I would rather have, because this kind of throws people for a loop. I almost think that this sys out print line is inside of the loop, and it is not. So in order to keep people from thinking that, I would actually do this. So now we know where the loop begins and where the loop ends. Again, we don't have to do that, so we have just one line. But again, I'm old school. I like to see that. So anyways, so I should see this message displayed. How many times? 5 times. Okay. Notice it doesn't say less than or equal to 5. It's basically less than 5. So it's starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 times. So I run this, and voila, message display message method 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back in the main method. Okay. So hello from the main, and then 5 times, and then back to the method. Okay. So inside that loop, we called that method that many different times. Now let's take a look at a big old program. It's called the credit card on page 279. And here we take a look at this. Now we're importing the JOption pane. So we're going to actually use the JOption pane dialog boxes. So here I've got my first main method. It's executable. I've got 3 variables: a double, salary, integer credit rating, and then a string input. So my input I'm getting from my JOption pane, and then I basically make the salary equal to that string that's been parsed to a double. And then I grab another input, show input dialog on the scale of boom, 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 and then I basically say credit rating equals to that same string input, but then parse it into an integer. So then if the salary is greater than or equal to 20,000 and the credit rating is greater than or equal to 7, then I have qualify. Again, since it is I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, that style of font, which I can't remember the name, it's qualify and no qualify. It's going to call the qualify method. So there must be 2 methods: qualify, no qualify. So there's a qualify and there is a no qualify. So qualify, no qualify. So on the qualify, it's going to show a JOption dialog box. Says, congratulations, you qualify for a credit card. If it doesn't fall through that, it's going to call the no qualify, and it says, I'm sorry, you do not qualify for the credit card. So if I were to run this, it says, what is your annual salary? We're going to go ahead and say 25, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it comes up and says on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your credit rating? I'm going to go ahead and say a 9. I'm going to say OK. Congratulations, you qualify for a credit card. So while I'm greater than or equal to 7 and I'm greater than 20,000, I qualify for a credit card. Okay. So if I run this again, and this time I'm going to say 25,000. This time I'm going to say it's a 6. I click OK. It says, I'm sorry, you do not qualify for the credit card. Okay. So again, kind of nice because we can execute this line of code, or I can execute this line of code. And when we get done, we basically do a system exit and we basically drop out. So not too bad. Not too bad at all. Now this next one is called the deep and deeper, and it starts getting into a hierarchical method call. Okay, so if we take a look at this, here I've got a method called deep. I've got a method called deeper, and so here I'm starting in the main, I call the deep, and then I say I'm now back in the main. Now, inside of deep, I actually call the deeper. So what we're trying to show here is how you can call a method inside of another method. So here we have, I'm now in deep, I call deeper. Deeper is going to basically then say I'm now in deeper, and then I come back to now I'm in deep, and then I'm back in main. So I should see, I'm starting in main, I'm now in deep, I'm now in deeper, now back in deep, now back in main. So if I run this, there I am. So it starts in the main, it then calls the deep. So now it says I'm in deep, then it calls deeper, so it says I'm now in deeper, and then it comes back to deep. It says I'm now back in deep, and now I'm back in main. So calling a method inside of another method. These are okay to do, but it really is logically hard to follow. If this was, let's say, 300-400 lines of code, and we were calling one method inside another method, it really gets kind of hard to follow sometimes. So just be aware of those different types of situations. Next thing we have is passing arguments. So we'll talk about that in the next video. So we'll see you in a little bit.